So before I do, I was going to say we're get some recording started as well. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us at the first time ever Hamilton Youth Roundtable. So this is a great conversation that we're really excited to share with you all today. But before I get started with that, I just wanted to do some housekeeping and, of course, acknowledge that we are before we get started with the presentation, we at Workforce Planning Hamilton understand and have a great appreciation that aims to recognize and show respect to Indigenous people and their enduring connection with their traditional territories and its history, as we are situated on the traditional territories of the Mississauga and Haudenosaunee nations, and within the lands we protect by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. We are continuously thankful for the land and soil we live on and will continue to respect it as we continue on in life. And before, I wanted to also highlight that because this is a roundtable conversation, we would appreciate for you all to just remain mute. If you do have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat, as we do love a live chat conversation happening on the side as well. So we definitely encourage that piece, but keeping in mind that we do have a Q&A session towards the end of our panelist conversations. So feel free to just keep your questions for that time. But if there is anything that's pressing in the moment, definitely throw it in the chat and we will try to answer it to the best of our abilities. Great. So once again, welcome to the first Hamilton Youth Workforce Roundtable conversation. So I will just throw it over to the next slide. Great. So who are we? Who is Workforce Planning Hamilton? So once again, my name is Khadija Hamidou. I am the Executive Director for Workforce Planning Hamilton, which is a non-for-profit organization that focuses on Hamilton's labor market as a whole. So we lead the conversation using the most up-to-date data to inform our community partners on the current economic standing, from leading Hamilton's largest job board to bringing you all information sessions such as the one that we're about to dive into today. So we hope to provide evidence-based analysis and engaging a broad range of labor market solutions for you all to have a prosperous and diverse Hamilton community. WPH is funded in part by the Government of Canada and the Government of Ontario. Next slide. Oh, and I want to, of course, introduce my lovely team. How could I forget? So we do have Amy Zhang, who is the data analyst. We have Travis McCall, who is the digital marketing coordinator, and we have Michelle Butcher, who is resuming her role as administrative coordinator now that she is officially back on maternity leave. So this is our group. We are a team of 4. We always say that we are a small but mighty team, but we are always happy to have these engaging conversations with you all as well. So a little bit about the agenda. What is happening today in this conversation? Of course, we did our introductions. We talked about who we are, what we do, but we really wanted to dive into Hamilton's youth workforce. What is the history behind it? How we kind of got to this place today. We also wanted to, of course, as a data organization, give you some youth labor market information as well. Then after we are done with the data portion of the conversation, we will be passing it over to our lovely panelists that we have today. It is a great group who will be discussing, the current programs that are happening within the city and how to better support youth employment rates in Hamilton. Then we will be passing it over to a youth spotlight. Of course, this is a Hamilton youth workforce, so we definitely wanted to bring some showcase to a youth who has been thriving in the Hamilton community and doing the amazing work that he's been doing. And then we would love to open it up for a group discussion. But of course, because we also know that employment and mental health go hand in hand, we wanted to also connect with the Canadian Mental Health Association by having a conversation on youth mental health strategies. Then we will be opening the floors up to you all to have Q&A moments, ask whatever you wanted to ask, even being able to just add in some information if you wanted to as well. Any strategies, any tips on how to better support youth in an employment region, that would be amazing. So that Q&A session, and then of course their closing remarks. Next slide. So a little bit about the workforce planning Hamilton/Hamilton Youth Workforce. So Workforce Planning Hamilton resumes our efforts on youth advocacy by just understanding employment opportunities, virtual networking engagements, and overall emphasis on mental health awareness. So we really wanted to address the high unemployment rates of youth and develop a strategic plan on how to better support youth mental health. So WPH's newer community page that happened about almost a year ago. So in December 2021, we opened up a new Instagram page called Hamilton Youth Workforce, where we wanted to really establish a steering committee of youth-based agencies and employment supports so that we can really welcome youth leaders to be a part of the conversation. We really try to understand, as we continue the conversation throughout the pandemic with, the overall unemployment rates, but then we really want to emphasize that youth unemployment rates are struggling even more. So trying to connect with youth and really trying to bring youth back out there into the community, it was our ultimate goal, but we did realize that we were not, the ones to kind of grab youth and have that connection with youth. So we wanted to engage with youth leaders, such as everybody in this room today, to really understand what is going on with youth employment, how to better support it, and how to get it to be a little bit more prosperous in the Hamilton community. So we welcome youth leaders to provide their input and suggestions for their personal experience, as well as provide youth with a better grasp of how to really work with the Hamilton's labor market information to reveal supports about what employment decisions they can make, and also really referring to meaningful employment. I continue to say meaningful employment because it is something that we want to make sure that youth are continuing to be in the career pathway that they choose and that they love and respect. So we hear from employers all the time having that loyalty pace. So what will be more loyal than to have youth be a part of a conversation or be a part of employment that they actually really love. So that is kind of the history of Hamilton Youth Workforce. We've had amazing conversations with youth leaders who are going to be a part of the panelists today. So if you've been following Hamilton Youth Workforce, we've been releasing probably once every 2 weeks, a new interview that really showcases some tips and tricks on youth employment. So I'll leave it at there because we have a lot more for you all, and I would like to pass it over to Amy Zhang.
Thank you, Khadija. So hi everyone, my name is Amy Zhang. I'm the data analyst at Workforce Planning Hamilton. It's a pleasure to meet everyone today, even if only virtually. And thank you for joining WPH today at our first ever Youth Roundtable. We hope everyone has a fantastic time. For the next few minutes or so, I'll be going over some youth labor market information. So starting off with the youth population. The youth population is defined as a population of individuals aged 15 to 29 years old. So the youth population is an integral part of Canada's economy, being the future of our workforce, as well as making up 40% of the total population, and in Hamilton, making up 50% of the total population. Engaging youth and providing a pipeline for a smooth transition into meaningful work is a cornerstone of creating a sustainable workforce. I'll be going over this in more detail briefly. So, youth who are not engaged in employment, education, or training are known as NEETs, not in employment, education, or training, or NEET. So in Canada's case, the number of youth NEETs increased drastically during the COVID-19 pandemic. In February to April 2020, among youth, the proportion of those considered NEETs increased by 13%. For Ontario, youth NEETs increased by 11%. The COVID-19 pandemic was definitely an unprecedented time for Canada, causing a lot of labor market and structural disruptions, economic turmoil, and business closures. Not to mention, with the lockdown restrictions and global uncertainty, worsened the mental health of many Canadians, especially among youth and adolescents. In present time, according to September 2022's labor force survey, the youth unemployment rate in Hamilton amounted to 10.8%. So compared to the unemployment rate for those aged 15 years and over of 4.6%, the youth unemployment rate superseded the overall unemployment rate in Hamilton by 6.2%, which is by quite a lot. However, we already know that higher youth unemployment rates have always been old news. Seasonal and transitional changes for youth affect their participation and employment year-round. However, this does not mean it should continue to be the norm. Emphasizing early career exploration, such as vocational training or apprenticeships, work-integrated learning streams, and summer placements can all lead to sustainable workforce solutions in the future. With this said, socioeconomic and socio-demographic barriers can make it difficult for local youth to access employment opportunities. These barriers include, and are not limited to, 1, access to post-secondary training and education, 2, lack of available social and mental health services and resources, 3, language barriers, and 4, lack of direction. Highlighting the 4th point, lack of direction and exposure to career pathways is a big shortcoming for youth to enter into meaningful work. Career guidance has never been more important to young people in 2022, especially since the COVID-19 pandemic. Work options have increased twofold. Remote and hybrid work options have opened up the floodgates to more employment opportunities, as well as professional growth, and has allowed young professionals to broaden their career outreach compared to pre-pandemic levels. Although with such a myriad of options, finding the right career pathways can seem daunting for youth who are just starting thinking about their careers. From the skilled trades, the arts to life sciences, finding passionate and meaningful work is a life-shaping event. Lived experiences often serve as the first stepping stone to gauging one's interests and passions. This youth roundtable brings together a wonderful roster of Hamilton's youth networks to discuss how we can better foster a progressive, meaningful, and sustainable youth workforce. And not to bore anyone any longer on the vicissitudes of the youth labor market, I'll be passing it back to Khadija to introduce our panelists for the roundtable.
Thank you, Amy. So as I mentioned previously, we have such an amazing group of partners in this conversation today. So the background about how everybody kind of came back into this conversation was, once again, we were doing the one-on-one interviews. So we started off with Center 3, then we moved on to Wesley, and we had such an amazing background from that. But we will, in this panel, we will start with McMaster universities, and then we will be passing it over to the City of Hamilton, Center 3, Wesley, Hamilton Center for Civic and Inclusion, Path Employment, Living Rock, Hammond Youth, and then, of course, the Canadian Mental Health Association. So with that being said, I would like to pass it over to Sim from the McMaster Student Union.
Well, hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be at this roundtable. And I also want to thank Khadija, Amy, Travis, and Michelle for all their hard work. This literally could not have been possible without them. And it was a pleasure taking part so far. And I look forward to many collaborations in the future. But yeah, just to give some quick intro about myself, my name is Simranjit Singh. You can call me Sim. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm the president of the McMaster Students Union, which is the main representative body for students that vouches for their interests, those who attend McMaster University. It certainly has been quite a journey so far. I can't believe I'm already done almost half of my term, but today in the 5 minutes that I have, I hope to give some quick summary of some of the services that we have, some advocacy work that we're doing, and then because I have to leave a little bit early as well, I will be more than happy to answer some questions in the last minute or so of my allotted time right now. So yeah, to give some more overview of the MSU, it is an organization that represents all undergraduate students at McMaster, which is approximately 27,000 individuals. This, of course, is a very large part of the youth population that lives in Hamilton and is seeking gainful employment both within Hamilton as well as in the rest of Ontario. So I think highlighting their interest is very important, and I'll definitely be taking a little bit of a McMaster student-centric approach during my few minutes. The MSU has dozens of different student services that offer everything from providing academic support to students to providing support to first-year students as they transition from high school to university, providing emergency first response, supporting those that are part of vulnerable communities, and of course also supporting those that face food insecurity. We also have more than 300 clubs that are in 5 main realms: academic, cultural, recreational, religious, spiritual, and of course, social issues. Now, the reason why I wanted to highlight these services and the clubs, specifically the social issues clubs, is because many of them do put a lot of their focus in the realm of student unemployment and how to actually advocate for creating a paradigm that is more accepting of student goals and interests, and also better fostering their ability to actually succeed in the workforce. As of now, we do see quite a few number of problems that exist within the McMaster community, as well as in the greater Ontario and Canadian communities. And addressing them, I think, is key to ensuring we have an environment that will ensure students and youth in general can actually be successful in the workforce. So to name some examples, we feel that there's often insufficient collaboration between partners within the McMaster community, whether it be faculties, student groups, or those who are in Hamilton and Ontario, to actually share information efficiently in terms of what jobs exist and what opportunities are available. So we have advocated to different levels of government, as well as the university, to better centralize those opportunities. So hopefully it can make it easier for McMaster students and youth in general to actually search for gainful employment. In addition, we think education is a very strong part of this conversation, and ensuring that education is molded in a way that will allow individuals to succeed is key. So whether that is ensuring that we actually advocate to different levels of government to invest appropriately in different sectors, so that there can actually be appropriate opportunities for students, no matter what field of education they have gone into prior. I think that is one very key aspect, and we hope to continue to strongly advocate for that. But in addition, for educators, it is very important for them to also be mindful of how their education will actually be applied in the workforce, and how they can mold it to be appropriate to the needs of the continuously evolving workforce. So whether that is ensuring that we can have consistent co-op opportunities and internship opportunities embedded within education. I think this is one very key aspect, and this has to be not only promoted, but expanded greatly moving forward by educational institutions, and fostered more so by governments as well. Co-op and internship opportunities are very important foundational elements that can help individuals have the skills that can allow them to succeed in the workforce later on, and also be viewed by employers as actually having the merit to be hired later on. So fostering these and expanding them, I think, is very key, especially in the modern day, when the ability for individuals to actually seek employment that is relevant to their background education is consistently becoming more and more difficult. As a secondary aspect of this as well, we feel that in education, there must also be experiential learning opportunities. So this definitely goes hand in hand with internship and co-ops, but is different because this will still involve an individual being in formalized education, but simply having opportunities to engage with their community, engage with partners, engage with other members who can give them a more real world understanding of what their education entails. We feel that expanding this is very key, as it will give people the skills to actually understand how the theory of what they learn can be applied in the real world. And the MSU has been advocating for that to become more widespread to McMaster, as well as different levels of government. Now, we feel that collaboration is very key in all of this. And that's why I'm also so grateful to be involved in a conversation like this, because it's an avenue in which so many wonderful partners from around the Hamilton and Greater Ontario communities can come together to share insights, share information. So once again, thank you for that opportunity. And aside from that, I just wanted to reiterate a point that I think was brought up by Amy as well. And I'm bringing this up again because I think it is very important to discuss, and because I feel that for many of us as leaders in education, as well as all of the wonderful community members who joined us, for us to acknowledge and understand this piece is key, so that we can actually advocate appropriately to different levels of government and other institutions. So that piece that I wanted to discuss is specifically about gainful employment and finding work that is appropriate to one's background, as Amy had also talked about in her background information. the ability for youth to find work that is relevant to their background experience has always been a struggle, and that has become exacerbated by the pandemic. Certainly the last few months, I think, have been quite a unique time with there being a greater demand for workers than there has been in the past. And that, I think, momentarily has shifted the paradigm. But I think we have to all recognize that this is fleeting. This is a small amount of time when workers have an opportunity to bargain more and actually have more power than they've had before. But I sadly don't think it will last, especially considering there are concerns of a recession coming forward. However, I think this has given us insight into what hopefully will be the future moving forward, in which if we are more successful in our advocacy work, we can create a situation in which workers are the ones who actually have the power to decide what their work hours are, where they may seek employment, so they can actually be fulfilled and do work that is interesting to them. That's something that I think the MSU will be strongly working towards, and I'm hopeful that in collaborations with community partners as well that we can do so. But yes, just to basically reiterate, we are advocating through those examples that I've given, through our services and our clubs, as well as through our leadership to McMaster, as well as other, as well as governmental institutions. And we're hopeful that with the work that we do, we can create a situation in the future where youth have greater opportunities to seek employment in areas relevant to their background, and can actually find greater fulfillment from their work as well. So that's kind of it for me. And I know Khadija had mentioned putting questions to the end, but since I will be leaving partway through to another obligation, I'd be happy to answer a few right now before the next panelist.
Thank you, Sim. Does anybody have any questions at this time? Okay, what we can do is if there are any questions for you, Sim, towards the end, we will be sure to pass it over, and then we can find some ways to communicate that. But I just wanted to thank you for highlighting what is happening currently within the McMaster Student Union, and that huge emphasis on the clubs that are going into that transition to back into employment. I think that having those opportunities to be a part of some type of community within the MSU is an amazing opportunity to learn and strive into employment and into the workforce. So I wanted to thank you again for really sharing that with us, and I hope you have an amazing day.
Thank you so much, Khadija. Once again, thank you for this wonderful, of course, thank you for this wonderful opportunity. And I look forward to hearing from all the wonderful insights of everybody else as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Sim. All right, next up, we have the City of Hamilton, Hammont Youth. So I will be passing it over to the lovely Jessie. Go ahead.
Well, good morning, everybody. Khadija, I'm going to have you introduce me everywhere I go. It's nice to be called lovely.
Of course.
Yeah. So Jesse Williamson, he, him pronouns from the City of Hamilton's youth team are also known as Hammont Youth. And really, really excited to be here today. Thank you to the whole workforce planning team for organizing this great event and helping to bring us all together today. The City of Hamilton youth team, we have 4 goals that we are looking to support young people age 14 to 29. We're looking to connect youth to services. We're looking to support their goals. We're looking to engage their voices, and we're looking to foster collaboration and partnerships within the community. And we do this in a variety of ways, whether it's through our Instagram channel at Hammont Youth. There's my cheap plug. So if anyone is not following us, please give a follow to at Hammont Youth. We also offer a partner newsletter that goes out the first Friday of every month called This Week in the World of Youth, that helps to inform partners of the different opportunities and kind of put it all in one spot once a month, so that you can stay up to date. And if that's something that interests you, please sign up at hamilton.ca/youth. But our team is obviously, employment is something very, very important to our team as part of our work as well. Our team is the lead for the Hamilton Youth Strategy, and the Youth Strategy has 5 priority themes and 14 objectives that was developed through extensive community engagement with almost 1,000 young people, over 100 agencies, over 100 parents. And one of those 5 priority themes is accessing employment and training. And so young people have let us know quite extensively that employment and training and having good employment opportunities and jobs that have good wages, and that there's access to financial supports for post-secondary education and training. These are the things that young people are telling us within the community that is important to them. And our work with the strategy over the next 5 years will now look to try to implement the voices, implement initiatives, implement partnerships, services, all kinds of different things through collaboration across the community to support those youth voices, and to ensure that we're creating a city that they want to live in and that they want to stay in. Sim mentioned McMaster University, and we also have Mohawk College and Redeemer University. We have many amazing young people who are coming to this city and getting their education here, or have grown up here. And it'd be wonderful for them to make Hamilton their home for their entire lives. So the other pieces of our team that are doing to support youth employment here is our team supports young people ages 16 to 18 who are in needs of Ontario Works. So our Ontario Works Youth Case Manager is surrounded by the rest of us doing work with youth. And so there's that integrated approach and that collaboration and wraparound service that we're able to provide those young people who are on Ontario Works. We're also, we also offer our Learning, Earning, and Parenting program. The Learning, Earning, and Parenting program is for our youth 16 to 25 who are parents and are in receipt of Ontario Works and would like to finish their high school. And so our LEAP workers are wonderful ladies who are supporting these young parents with additional financial resources, with additional parenting resources, connection to community, and all kinds of amazing incentives to help and help them and support them to finish their high school. And the final piece to our team, which is very, very important, that I'd like to introduce is Erin Gates, who is our Youth Navigator with the Experience Annex. And Erin can talk to her role on how she's supporting connecting young people to services and making sure that we're supporting their goals. Erin?
Oh, hi there. I'm not sure if my video will flip over, but yep, my name's Erin and I'm the Youth Navigator. I don't know, Jesse, maybe you have to get rid of your video. I'm not sure. Okay, well, I'll just talk as is. So my name's Erin. I'm very happy to be here. I'm again happy to have participated in the initial interviews. That was a really great experience. So as the Youth Navigator, I work as a point of support and connection for youth in the city of Hamilton, all youth 14 to 29. And I work under that youth strategy, and one of those points is youth employment. As we heard earlier, not all youth seeking employment are eligible for all of the programs that are out there. And so if a youth isn't eligible, such as they're in school, but they're looking for work, or they're only looking for part-time work, I can assist with the resume and job search tips and interview practice. I do a little bit of labor market job searching with them as well. And for those that are eligible and interested, of course, I would refer them to any EO programs that they would be eligible for, as well as any programming that they may fit, such in the city. As an example, we have our own Hamilton Youth in Construction program. There's lots of different great programs within the city that help out youth. I'm just going to speak to youth in construction because that's what I'm currently most familiar with. So that's a 10-week program where we work with marginalized youth to help them get training and employment in unionized construction jobs. Of course, there's lots of different programs out there, the YMCA STEP program, or YWCA, excuse me, STEP program, as well as programs through PATH that are geared for young people looking for support and employment. As well, I think a unique part of our team that we offer is an employment opportunity for youth. You're going to hear a little bit more about this later, I think, from another participant, but I just wanted to highlight our Youth Engager position. So that's a 6-month contract that the City of Hamilton hires, and we pay at a living wage. And the Youth Engagers fill a lot of different roles, both within our team and within the city and the community. They act as a youth voice on our team specifically, and they act as peer-to-peer support within the community and make connections out in the community. Because we know that youth will always go to each other before they come to an adult for support. And that's been really helpful in a number of ways. We have youth connect with the engagers, and then the engagers connect with us if they're in need, or if they make the best, and the engagers will kind of make the call and say, refer to services such as myself or other services, or just pass the youth along to the services that they're familiar with. So they're acting kind of as a peer representative within the community for youth as well. So that's kind of the work that we're doing specifically out of the annex for employment. And I think I'm just going to, that's all for me. So I'm going to pass it back to Khadija.
Thank you, Erin. Once again, the work that's currently happening with Hammond Youth has been tremendous. They've been a huge supporter of the work that we've been doing as well, from the one-on-one interviews to just the social media love and sharing all the work that we've been that's been currently happening in the city from a youth perspective. So thank you, Erin. Thank you, Jesse, for participating in this conversation. Next up, we have Center 3, so we will be passing it over to, I'm not going to say the lovely again, but the absolutely lovely Arturo.
Again, absolutely. Awesome.
There you go.
I'm going to start my timer now because I don't want to go over time, but Center 3 is an interesting institution. So we're what you call an artist-run center, but we're a nonprofit space that deals with gallery artwork on one side and a social practice on the other. So we do a bunch of things. I can't talk about all of them, but if for the youth in the audience today, we have like t-shirt and merch printing, professional gallery space assistance, so we can help with calls for submissions and grant writing and professional development in the creative sort of side. And then of course, we have a film and audio studio. So I'm going to talk about Youth Can. That's my kind of social practice role at Center 3. I'm the Youth Can project coordinator, as well as the film studio coordinator. And I think that title just changed to manager. So yay me. The main thing that we do in Youth Can is assist with increasing the capacity for not only youth, NEET youth. I also want to make that distinction. This is for NEET youth. So we raise capacity for NEET youth, service providers like much of the people on this call, and private sector businesses. So in the past, Youth Can made this pretty extensive report on the kind of NEET youth situation in Hamilton with McMaster Research Shop. They published a 70-page research sort of report on the state of the different stakeholders that I mentioned before: youth, service providers, and private sector businesses. And we came up with a list of kind of directives to target to help our collective impact group deal with the NEET youth rate, basically. So this year we have a lot of interesting stuff because we did get renewed just this past September, I should say, and we're tackling 5 points. So after those 5 points, I could pass it on to my next presenter, but they're exciting not only for the youth in this call, but for the social service providers in this call as well. So we have a video assistance programming support, so a little bit of money to help other service providers create more professional video content for their social media and or YouTube channel, what have you. So we have supports there, and they can be, if you have questions about that, just contact me at film@Center3 and we can get started and start a conversation. We're also creating a suite of tutorials for the Meta Business platform. So like previously known as Facebook, but we're going to teach like targeted ads, things like that for social service providers, because we have experience with this in the creative sector. A lot of musicians and artists use these tools a lot. And it's interesting to see that we're like, as social service providers, we tend not to use these kind of tools that a lot of these kind of creative sects don't have been using for a while. So it'd be good to increase our exposure in that way. And then finally, but most excitingly, we're doing a pilot project with private sector businesses to assess EDI considerations, so equity, diversity, inclusion. We're going to figure out what the gaps are in expectation and the job searching process to better equip youth to understanding the basically the professional world and help private sector businesses be more inclusive and understanding of the changing population and situation post, I wouldn't even say post-COVID, but at this point in the pandemic. And thank you so much for this time. Workforce planning came in clutch from the beginning. So thanks so much. I'm going to pass it on to the next person. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. We appreciate it. And I think with Center 3, it's really, really important to understand the uniqueness within this organization on really highlighting arts within the youth employment sector. So really just shifting gears a little bit and getting, a little bit more people connected to their true love and knowing that there is employment within that sector. So I thank you again, Art, for speaking on that. Next up, we have Wesley. So once again, Eli, I will pass it over to you, but I think Wesley really showcases a lot of great youth work within the Hamilton region, but I'll let Eli jump in on that one. Eli?
Good morning to everybody. Khadija and the team, thank you for the invite. Hello to all the familiar names I see here. I do apologize in advance. I am a bit sick. My son did bring something home from school, so I'm a little rugged with the voice. So if I have to repeat something, please let me know. I'm sure everybody's a bit familiar with what Wesley does in the community, but I'll give you guys a bit of a reminder of what we do and some of the new changes that have come about in the last 2 years. So first off, obviously, you know that we do provide employment services through Employment Ontario. We are one of the Employment Ontario service providers in the city. Most of you know me from the YJC program, which has unfortunately been shut down. But I do primarily work with youth. So if you get any youth referrals over to our employment service provider office, they're most likely to end up in my hand. Although we do have 5 other case managers that are highly trained to develop skills with youth and help them engage in the community and find sustainable employment, which is ultimately our goal. Wesley does too have Wesley Youth Housing, which is located on Main Street just by Hess, which does engage with transient youth, trying to find them sustainable housing, working on mental health, any type of mental health related issues. So we do have a lot of wraparound services within Wesley. We also do have the newcomer services. So we're seeing a lot of youth that are coming from war-torn countries, such as right now, Ukraine. We got a lot of youth still coming in from Syria. So we are trying to connect them with any resources in the community that we can, just not with employment. We're talking about ESL, we're talking about the wraparound services of finding housing, stuff like that, okay? Otherwise, new stuff, we are trying to be a little more present on social media. So Wesley hasn't really been too present in the past. So we do have social media pages on Facebook and Instagram now. And we do have YouTube videos that are targeted towards employment. So they can access the YouTube videos as per their needs. So if they're looking at interviewing skills, there is stuff on interviewing skills, mental health, whatever it is the youth or the client may need to access. Many of you may not know the day center for Wesley is shutting down. So we are looking at ways to reach out to some of the youth that access that day center and to see how we can fill in those gaps for those youth. Me as a employment case manager, my primary role would to be try and help them connect with obviously sustainable employment or resources that can help them outside of accessing the day center. That's pretty much it for me. I'm not sure if Lincoln's here, if he's gonna talk too much about the YOW. But if you want access to me, my email is eli.mcknight@wesley.ca. I'm trying to get more active in the community again. So please, guys, if you have any ideas, you want me to come and speak to any of your clients or be on a panel as I am today, please reach out to me. I'm here.
Thank you, Eli. I'm not exactly sure if Lincoln is in the room, as I know that he was running late, but we wanted to really highlight the Youth Ontario workers. I see that he's actually messaging me now, so I'm not sure. Just joining now, he says, but we will probably pass it over to our next panelist, and then we will jump back to Lincoln.
Perfect.
Next slide, please. Great. So we will pass it over to Kuba from the Hamilton Center for Civic and Inclusion.
Hi, everyone. I'm hoping that you can hear me okay. Great. Okay. Yeah, I'm Kuba. You, she, her pronouns. I'm the manager of programs at the Hamilton Center for Civic Inclusion. It's nice to see a lot of folks that I recognize and nice to, meet people that I've not met before. So that's awesome. So yeah, at the Hamilton Center for Civic Inclusion, we work as a community organization that supports making a Hamilton, or building a Hamilton that is more inclusive, building a Hamilton that, cares about its neighbors, its community, and make sure that everybody feels included and accepted in the city, and everybody can thrive in their environment, regardless of their race, their gender, their ethnicity, their sexual orientation, etc. So we have multiple programs at HCCI, but specifically, I think in terms of youth and focusing on youth, we offer a Black Youth Mentorship Program, which provides Black youth in the city of Hamilton from the ages of 13 to 25 with the opportunity to be connected with mentees around the city of Hamilton. And some mentees from outside of Hamilton as well, who probably, grew up in Hamilton and then ended up elsewhere because of where their career took them. And it's, really interesting and nice to see how the youth who are engaged with the Black Youth Mentorship Program get the chance to explore their interest. I think one thing that is really important for us at HCCI is ensuring that the youth have the opportunity to explore an interest that they have and not necessarily feel confined or constricted to specific rules of employment or specific rules of interest or career. I think it's really important, especially for Black youth, to know that they have the opportunity to explore, anything, whether that be the arts or, STEM or anything really. Giving them that opportunity, and also providing mentees that can guide them through that, who've been through the same thing, I think is a really important part of that. And following that same model or following that same theme, I think it kind of starts out as, especially for the younger ones, just like workshops and participating in different events and participating in different discussions or different, one-on-one sessions with their mentees or with their mentors. I've been saying mentees this whole time, I think. One-on-one session with their mentors or participating in group discussions at school. But I think as time goes on, and especially for the older youth, the ones that are leaving high school, the ones that are in university and beyond, or in college and beyond, or just out of high school, I think they've a really important part of that is employment. And we've, I don't have to repeat it because we know how youth employment is in a really difficult situation at the moment. And I think many youth, yes, there's like a lack of opportunity, but I think also a lack of access to these jobs and lack of access to employment. A major thing that I've noticed and that we've noticed here at HCCI is that there is kind of a disconnect between those who offer youth employment and the youth, right? And there's not that line or anything that connects the two. Therefore, it's like hard for these employers to reach the youth, and it's also hard for the youth to reach the employers since they don't know where to go about that. So that's why I think a really important part of seeking employment and also offering employment is ensuring that you're connecting with the target demographic or the group that you're trying to reach. And that's why I think through conversations such as these ones and roundtable discussions with other community groups, other employers or other groups that offer employment opportunities to youth is so crucial, because then there's that connection that does happen. We also promote students in the summertime, and actually even throughout the year. Right now, we're working with a student or a summer fellow and fall fellow with the United Alliance on Race Relations, and she's working specifically around topics that concern the municipal election. HTCI had a survey out recently about voter engagement and how folks feel about the upcoming election, and getting kind of a feel of where the city of Hamilton is at in terms of the municipal election. And our summer student, worked on that survey, put it out, and is working on a report currently to report the analysis back. And in the summertime, we also had another student from Hamilton who now goes to McGill. And he was working with us through the Loren scholarship, because he's a Loren scholar, and he worked at HCCI to also do some kind of evaluative work on the experiences of different candidates within different municipal candidates of this municipal election, to see how race and gender and other identity kind of affects the way in which your campaign goes, or how you interact with the system when it comes to municipal politics. So it is really important for us to engage youth in that manner and give the opportunity for them to be able to engage in our programs, to be able to engage in our programming, and also come up with their own programming. I think when there's one thing where there's one thing where, or one situation where you can just give somebody a task and say, I would like this, this, and this done. But I think another really important part of getting that youth engagement is providing them with the opportunity to allow them to be creative, right? To provide them with that opportunity to, build their own projects. And because at the end of the day, regardless if it's still within the mission and vision of your organization, giving them that, having that youth perspective, and knowing that, these youth are part of the community and they know what is interesting to other youth, and giving them that opportunity to develop programming in that regard, I think is really helpful. And another part, or I did mention the Black Youth Mentorship Program, but we also have a civic engagement program, or a civic leadership program. And that is also open to, youth who would like to get more engaged within the community, who would like to learn more about community engagement and organizing and things of that nature. And I think those connections as well between the youth and those who are specifically working within community and working to make Hamilton a better city is really important for that, model of youth to community relation. And myself, and I mentioned this during my interview with Khadija, but I'm 22. I guess like to most people, I'd be considered youth if they go beyond the age of 18, because I would say that youth is like kid to like 30, right? So I still got a couple of years left. And, that's another thing that's really important at HCCI, is making sure that, the leadership and those working the day-to-day are also, made up of a team of youth. The leaders of our Black Youth Mentorship Program, the coordinators are also youth. So that's really important to us. So I think I will not keep talking for too long. And, I'm glad to continue this conversation later with more questions, but that's kind of, what's been going on at HCCI and what we're all about.
Thank you so much, Kubra. I think that was a really great emphasis on, what is currently happening within the community regarding racialized youth, but on top of that, really emphasizing Black youth mentorship and Black youth employment in the Hamilton region. And, I find it really unique that, we're really exposing Black youth to different forms of career pathways. We talked about, Arturo having the arts, but you really focus on that science side of it as well. And I think that's really amazing to see that, Black youth have this opportunity to explore different ranges of employment that they're not stereotypically driven to. So I think that in itself is unique and special. And we commend you for the work that, you're doing within the Hamilton Civic Center for Civic Inclusion. So thank you so much for participating today. So with that being said, we are going to pass it back over. Sorry, Michelle, we're going to go back a little bit as we do have Lincoln Nicole who has joined the room. So I'll pass it over to Lincoln and he will showcase, with YOWs, they're all over the city. So not too surprised, but we'll pass it over to Lincoln and kind of give a little bit more about what is going on within the YOW community.
Thanks, Khadija. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, Lincoln.
Awesome. Yeah, I apologize. Sorry, I'm a new dad, so I'm still working on my routine. I was getting up early and stuff, so sorry for being late. I can talk about the program Wesley offers. Thanks, Jesse. Jesse sent me a message. Thank you, man. Throwing me off. But I can talk about Wesley. Wesley offers a lot of programs. I'm not sure if Eli's in here. I see him up here on employment I refer to him a lot with employment. Khadija, is Eli in the room? Or not?
Yes,
Here with
Eli's
you.
in the room.
Okay, Eli. Okay, I don't want to steal the show from you, so I'm not too sure.
I've already went.
Oh, you already went. Okay, awesome. Okay, so yeah, so I'm a provincial youth worker. So my job is to engage the community, build rapport, build relationships with the community and youth and families, and connect them to positive resources. So I've been doing this job for 10 plus years in the community. Our job is very mobile, and we're connectors. So I like to say, it's hard for me to connect the youth if I'm not connected myself. So I'm always trying to educate myself with different resources, different services that are happening, different programs. The city offers a lot, so I love that. It kind of makes the job a little bit easier. So that's my job, is to engage. Typical day is, going into the community. Every day's different. To say the least, every day is totally different. I don't know who's going to come up to me. I don't know, some of the issues the youth may open up to me about. So that's one thing I enjoy about the job. It's kind of kept me around for a lot. We're not really at a desk. We have an office, but we just kind of do the stats and stuff at the office. For the most part, we're out in the streets, we're out in the communities. We do a lot of engagement in the schools. So we're in most of the lower city schools, and now we're kind of expanding over to the mountain. We used to have boundaries, and we're realizing, hey, youth need help from all over the city, all different areas. So we kind of got rid of the boundaries, and we're just engaging wherever there's help needed. So that's kind of our role in the community. I would say this program started, about 13 years ago, 14 years ago. It's a provincial program. So there's also YAL workers across the province. I started in Toronto. There's a lot of gun violence in Toronto, and they wanted role models to be right in the community, right there with the youth. So they thought of the YAL program, and that's kind of where it started from, and it's expanded now. So it's in 14 different cities across the province, and we all do our job a little bit differently. But for the most part, we're out there to build that rapport, gain the trust with the youth and families in the community, and just connect them to all these resources. With the job, we do a lot of community development. So we go into communities, listen to what they want to do, and try to get those programs started for them. We're at barbecues, we're at events, if it's workshops, if it's school events, we're at the school basketball games, soccer games, anywhere where there's youth or we can engage and interact. That's kind of our role, is to kind of make that presence in the community. So we do a lot of walking, a lot of outreach. Usually we're wearing the red. That's one way to kind of identify us. So we wear the red, and we're out there in our backpacks. We carry the resources in our backpacks. If it's a resource binder full of, employment information, shelter information, mental health stuff, pretty much anything to kind of engage the youth. Carry a lot of bus tickets. So it's kind of one way to kind of, get the youth's attention. They all need bus tickets, and that's kind of one way to kind of break the ice with them. We like to use a lot of engagement tools. So if it's pizza cards, Tim Horton cards, giving out Frisbees, whatever it is, we have little headphones that we give out. Any way to engage that youth and just to kind of build that rapport with them is our role in the community. So it's a great job. I love doing it. Like I said, every day is different, but it's definitely you guys out there and guys like Eli that I refer to a lot that kind of make the job, a lot smoother and a lot easier for us, because we can't connect the youth if there's nothing to connect them to. So I appreciate also what you guys do in the community, but that's kind of my role in the job. I guess one way to get a hold of us is we have our email. So maybe I could put that in the chat after that. So we have email. We also have cell phones. So if youth are trying to get a hold of us, we do a lot through text, email. We go into schools, we put up bulletin boards. So we have like boards that will go up, and we'll put information. For example, if the city has a lot of stuff happening, we'll go on the boards and just kind of update the school boards with information that's happening. So that's one way to kind of get a hold of us. For the most part, they see us. We're out there. I'm always downtown. I'm always usually in the library. I'm always walking up and down the streets just to kind of, make that presence. If there's no engagement, at least we're out there and people are seeing us, and maybe we don't see them, but they see us. And I get a lot of conversations where like, hey, I see you're always wearing that red shirt, you're wearing that backpack, you're always, walking, like, what do you do? you know, and it kind of sparks a good conversation, and it goes a long way from there. So that's kind of my role. That's my job in the community. We kind of wear a lot of different hats. I would say as a YAO worker, it just with supporting different programs. But it's great. Like I said, it's great to connect the youth to all different positive resources here. So if there's any question, feel free. Sorry, I kind of just jumped in and kind of maybe all over the place, but that's my role.
Thank you so much, Lincoln. So once again, if you are looking for a YAO worker, you will see them all red and decked out outside. I definitely do have my old YAO headphones as well. So definitely something to connect with a little bit more. But thank you so much, Lincoln, for joining the conversation and really just touching base on the amazing work that's happening within Wesley, within YAO, and how to really do the right way of engaging youth. And like you said, going to their soccer games, going to the basketball games, those are the best ways to engage. So that's a trick and tip right there for everybody who's been in this room to really try to engage, is to really get out there to where youth are currently are. And that is what YAO has been doing for years and years. So thank you so much for participating. And we will be passing it over to Christina.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Christina Tarsitano. I'm an employment coordinator and job developer at Path Employment Services, and I'm really excited to be here today. So Path is an award-winning organization that has been helping people with any type of disability make the transition to meaningful jobs and stay in them. 50 years ago, Path originated as the first community agency in Canada solely dedicated to assisting individuals with disabilities in finding employment. Path is located at 31 King Street East in Hamilton, right across from Gore Park. And all services are free to anyone of legal working age, not in school over 20 hours a week, or not employed more than 20 hours a week. And Path provides one-on-one employment assistance and will help with exploring work goals, identifying barriers to employment. They'll support with career and skill assessments, assisting with job search techniques, creating effective resumes, mock interviews. We have free employment and life skills workshops. We also offer financial assistance with transportation, work clothing, on-the-job tools, and we advocate for clients to employers and provide accommodation supports. Provide one-on-one support for 1 year after the job placement to ensure the job is retained, and also offer mental health support. So we have an occupational therapist on staff who will assess if and how disability, illness, or stressors are impacting an individual's ability to function in all areas of or all realms of their life. And some common goals they'll focus on are sleep hygiene, managing stress, learning coping skills and adapting them to the workplace, and interpersonal skills. The occupational therapist also will refer to specialists as needed at St. Joseph's Healthcare, connecting a youth with a family doctor, providing or supporting with addictions, just so connecting anyone. And then Path also offers 2 specialized employment programs. One is a 5 Stars restaurant training program to get the skills needed to start a career in the restaurant industry. And this free program provides training and certifications, employability and life skills, mental health support, and on-the-job work experience. So this is a 6-week paid program. It includes 4 weeks of in-class training and 2 weeks of work experience. And it's in partnership with the Ontario Tourism Education Corporation, Mohawk College, and the Canadian Mental Health Association. And the second employment program is in partnership with Centre 3 for Artistic and Social Practice. It's called 360 for Youth. It's also an employment and training placement program specifically for youth age 15 to 30. And it includes 8 weeks of training in digital media, social media marketing, video and photo editing, Google Suite certification, Canva, TikTok, Instagram, and more. And so, and then towards the end of the training, the participants work as a team on a culminating activity to provide a new brand identity for a local company in Hamilton. And so the participants, they learn from, they're supported by excellent facilitators specializing in digital media and job readiness to prepare them for job placements in the future. And then they end with a 12-week supported work placement. The next cohort begins in January 2023, so registration will take place in December. And I'm sorry, I missed, I wanted to say that with the 5 Stars Restaurant Training Program, that the next, that they have new cohorts each month, so you can apply at any time. And I wanted to sort of end off with a success story. We had a participant who entered this 360 for Youth program with severe anxiety. This youth saw the occupational therapist on a weekly basis, and that with the 8-week training being done online really helped the youth to attend classes, eventually turn her camera on, contribute to class discussion, and work as a team on a culminating project. And so she really grew over the 8-week period from the support from our team. When we're looking for a work placement, the job developer advocated for the youth to the employer and found her a position that was accommodating to her needs. And she excelled in this job placement, and she's maintained employment with this company for the last 2 years. So Path Employment has been and will continue to connect individuals to meaningful jobs. Path has an active social media presence where we post job opportunities, workshops, job tips, and more. So I encourage to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And to access Path, you can call, email the front desk to book an appointment, or be referred in by another service provider. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christina. And we also have our own success story regarding the 360 for Youth program. So our own Travis McCarl has really transitioned from being in that program into full-time employment with Workforce Planning Hamilton. So it's just another example of the work that Path and Center 3 have been doing and working together and creating such a great foundation of programming to support and train individuals into the digital media sector as well. So thank you so much for participating in this conversation, Christina. And with that being said, I would like to pass it over to Living Rock. So Cindy from Living Rock.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Cindy. My pronouns are she, her. It's a pleasure to be a part of this roundtable event today. So thank you for inviting us. And it's just a pleasure to put names to faces and hear all about all the wonderful work that you do for the Hamilton community. So thank you. So the Tri-Rock Employment Program is fully funded by Service Canada, and it is located at the Living Rock. We have on our team, we have myself, who is the coordinator. I have 3 life skills coaches, a case management coach, and an employment coach. So each role provides different opportunities for the youth to utilize. So Tri-Rock is an employment training program provided to youth 18 to 30 years old who may have barriers to employment, gaps in their resume, or lack of education. And it is built into 2 phases. So phase 1 is where youth are actually working at Living Rock Monday to Friday, 30 hours a week, and they are getting paid minimum wage. And they're involved in building a lot of hard and soft skills to become more employable. They work with the life skills coaches that just provide them with the tasks that they're to do, given different opportunities to work in our food bank through shipping and receiving, do a lot of work in food services as we provide free meals to our Hamilton youth. breakfast and lunch. So there's a lot of stuff happening in food services, and just regular sort of janitorial, custodial. They're also working on different projects that we have going on at the Living Rock. So the first phase, they're actually working with us for 8 weeks. And they're involved in a lot of different workshops, doing different certifications, WMIS, AODA, 4 steps to health and safety. They get first aid, CPR. They also get some financial support with, they get bus tickets every day to get home and come back to work. We provide at the onset, usually 2 weeks in, we provide opportunities for gift cards to help with food, you know, for their lunches or dinners. We also have hygiene products that we provide to sort of get them, you know, into a good routine of hygiene and sleep. So during that time, once they've completed the 8 weeks, we honor them through a graduation at the Living Rock, which was amazing. They have an opportunity to speak and talk about their journey and their experience being in Tri-Rock. Oh, sorry, I just want to back up a little bit. I talked about the life skills coaches, but our case management coach, Melissa, she does an assessment when folks first start the program, just to identify any needs, whether it be mental health, finding a physician, housing, any kind of resources that they need. I have a budget for some dental stuff, some eyeglasses. So she really targets the needs and works with them one-on-one to provide the supports that they need. We also have an employment coach, and he does a lot of workshops to get them employment ready, and also is out working with different community members and employers to find proper employment opportunities. And then he continues that into phase 2. So once they finish phase 1, they go into phase 2 with an employer, and there they work 300 hours that are paid. And we also reimburse the employer their wage, which is a really great opportunity for folks in the community, especially small businesses, which were severely impacted by COVID, as we know. So it's a great opportunity for them to get the wage reimbursed, as well as mentoring our youth. So our employment coach sees our youth at their employment every 2 weeks, just to see how things are going, work through any challenges, you know, bring back positive stories, how everybody's working. Yeah, so I think I've covered. Yeah, I think I've covered it. You can, folks can apply online at the Living Rock. They can come right to the Living Rock at 30 Wilson Street to get an application. We also advertise on Indeed, and we take intakes every 4 weeks. So it's an ongoing process. So if they didn't get into one intake, or we've got, you know, an abundance of applicants, we are taking about 6 participants, and we're doing overlapping intake. So one group graduates, the next group starts on the Monday. So yeah, I think I've tried to cover everything. If anybody has any questions, I'll post my email and you can reach out. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Cindy. And I know that with Living Rock, the emphasis on life skills and you know, upgrading those life skills is huge in the city. So I just congratulate the work that Living Rock has been doing over the years of, you know, just really connecting with the homeless youth population as well. So thank you for all your work, and we appreciate you participating.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. And just to end with the panelist conversation, once again, this is a Hamilton Youth workforce roundtable. So we really wanted to emphasize a Hamilton Youth Spotlight. So this is an individual that has just been doing such an amazing work with getting into employment and really thriving in the field that he has been a part of. But like I said, I'll pass it over to Faisal, and Faisal will be able to just showcase, that like all the amazing things that he's been doing over the past few years. Faisal?
Thank you, Khadija. Thank you. First of all, I just want to say, good job, everybody. Everyone is doing such an amazing jobs. Without you people being in our lives, I don't think I'll be here today sitting looking this good. I just want to start off by saying thank you to the panelists. For those who know me, you know me, like, what's up? And for those who don't know me, this is my story. I came to Canada when I was like 11 years old, and growing up in the inner city, in a neighborhood that was 50% below the poverty line, my parents couldn't really afford extracurricular activities like basketball, or like understand what job was, or employment, even that. Being an immigrant, one of the things that I did struggle with was English. I didn't really speak English, and shout out to Nickelodeon, that's how I learned how to speak English. But that being said, some amazing people in the community came together and created one of the best programs that I think that have changed my life. And that program was the Neighborhood Hoops. With the Neighborhood Hoops being completely free, and also right across from my house, I was able to create to make connections with certain amazing people within the city of Hamilton and build friendships that will last a long time. With the passion that I have for basketball and being really good at it, I was nominated for the Neighborhood Hoops Under 25 Volunteer Award. With that award, I was able to receive with the city of Hamilton, and that just created more opportunities for me. And more opportunities has started knocking on my door, and I was able to receive 6 more awards and 3 scholarships. And one of these scholarships, just to highlight a few, are John C. Holland Scholarship, the Hamilton Bulldogs Youth Scholarship, and a Lead Membership Award. With saying all of that, opportunities kept knocking on my door. And one of the amazing things that I was able to do was Wesley Urban Ministry reached out to me and gave me a job title as a youth worker for the youth center. And I was able to go off to college. With all that amazing work, I was able to go off to college and get a diploma in police foundation. At that moment, I do believe that there's a lot of work to be done. And this panel is such an amazing start for everybody to understand that there is help out there. So at the moment, I'm working as a youth engager with the city of Hamilton. And I would like to give a huge shout out to Hamilton Youth for giving me this opportunity to get to speak to each and every one of you. I would like to thank few people for out of this panel right now. I want to give a huge thank you to Lincoln Cole. Lincoln Cole, he sounds like he's a legend, in my opinion. And he just sounds very humble, and he was like, yeah, I walk around the streets, I engage youth. But without Lincoln Cole creating such an amazing opportunity for us within the city, I don't think none of us would have been here today. Jesse Williamson was one of the co-founders of Neighborhood Hoops. Without Neighborhood Hoops, I don't think I would have made these connections today. I would like to thank Workforce Hamilton for inviting me today and giving me the spotlight to get to speak to you guys. And I would like to thank Khadija. Khadija, you do remember me ever since I was a youth. I was like 14 years old. You being at the teen drop-in, always telling us, hey, you guys got this. If I can do it, you can do it. And creating that opportunity for myself and being able to thrive and being able to have this kind of connections, it's because of people like you. So I would like to say thank you for that. And lastly, I would just like to thank each and every one of you for giving us the opportunity to create a relationship, being supported. I personally, coming to this country, I was never thought that I'll be able to feel this amount of support, right? I just want to say thank you, and that is all for me.
And we want to thank you for the work that you're doing as well, Faisal. We are so tremendously proud of you for everything that you've been doing, like even listing all the rewards that you've been granted and, just being able to finish up with school and all these transitional moments. It's been amazing to see you grow as an individual and as a youth leader in our city. So we thank you so much for sharing your story and just being so vulnerable in this moment and really just showcasing that, people can really get what they want if they put the work in and they put the effort in. So we thank you so much for giving us this moment to really understand how you have really brought a shining light to our city. So we appreciate it. And once again, you see it in the comments as we continue to talking, but we're so proud of you. So we definitely want to give you this opportunity to give you a spotlight on all the amazing things you're doing, Faisal. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Amazing. So that does lead the end of the panelist conversation. So we did want to open it up for some discussions just to see if there's anybody that has any questions. And then just keeping in mind that today is World Mental Health Day as well. So we really want to transition after this open discussion, transitioning it over to Jill from the Canadian Mental Health Association, who will be showcasing youth and mental health as well. Great. So does anybody have any questions? I saw here in the chat that there was a question about Living Rock showers. Is that free does Living Rock provide access to free showers for youth in the public? So Michelle, I guess we could start. Oh, perfect. Great. I was going to say maybe we can just end the PowerPoint and then we can just have it as an open floor and then pass it over to Jill.
Okay, great question. Yes, so we have 3 showers on site that is open to all youth. Although the Tri-Rock employment program, we serve folks 18 to 30, but our services at Living Rock are up to 25. So that's just the difference. So any youth up to 25 are more than welcome. Our breakfast program opens up at 8 o'clock in the morning. So showers are provided. We also have a drop-in center where you can, up in our Oasis program, that's open 1 to 4. You can have showers then. So we also have free laundry on site as well. So if you can let folks know, they can pop into our resource center. We have computers and they can, sit and play games or be on their computers while they're doing their laundry. So that's a great opportunity as well.
Amazing. Thank you, Cindy.
You're welcome.
Just keeping in mind the time that we do have. Does anybody have any other questions before we move on to Jill? Amazing. So we will pass it over to Jill Dennison for a youth and mental health conversation.
First off, I want to say thank you so much for having me here. And thank you for putting me after Faisal. How do I follow that up? Like, seriously. Yeah, thanks a lot for that. No, Faisal, that was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story and just embracing everything that was happening to you and the supports available. I think that's absolutely incredible. I work for the Canadian Mental Health Association. I am so lucky to work for an organization that shares the stage with so many of you all the time. We have been able to partner with a number of the organizations here today on a number of projects, and I hope we get to continue to do that because I think that collaboration that we have in this community is so vital and it makes these things work. So I'm mindful of time. I get to talk to you about mental health and youth. Just so you know, we are 16 and up. So if there is anybody who's interested in our services, please check out our website. We have a lot of different programs. I also coordinate one where people share their lived experience with mental health. It's one of my favorite parts of my job. So if anybody is interested, please reach out to me anytime. If you want to be a part of that program, we'd love to have you. Okay, so hopefully I'm going to be able to share my screen here. Maybe not. Hang on a second. We always say this, we practiced it, right? Hang on a second here. It's always something. And of course, it disappears.
Jill, I can also try to pull up the presentation as well.
Oh, I think I have it. My apologies here. Let me see if it's going to work now. Okay, maybe. There it is. Okay. Can you guys see that okay? All right. We want to talk a little bit about kind of some coping skills, kind of a little bit about too, what youth have kind of been through in the last two and a half, 3 years. Okay. So I'm going to take a look at this. First of all, I want to check in. This has been great information, but I want to make sure everybody's doing okay. Is everybody all right? You want to give me a thumbs up? Let me know everybody's feeling okay. All right. It's important that we check in on each other. That's a big piece of what I kind of advocate for. And it's a big piece of the work that you guys are already doing in our community. And I think it's important that when we are checking in on people, we take the time to listen, right? Hear what everybody's got to say, where they are actually at. And I think it was kind of interesting when we first came on this morning, we were all talking about, okay, it's fall, some of us are sick. You know, we have that opportunity to share. And I think that's super important. Whenever I do a presentation, I always talk about what is mental health and why is that so important? Because sometimes people get mental health and mental illness confused. And it happens because mental health isn't something we've learned about the way we have learned about our physical health. So when I talk about mental health, one of the things I want you to know is if you have a brain, you have mental health. If you have a body, you have physical health. We're human beings, we've got both. So our mental health and our physical health are tied together. You guys have shared those experiences, how important it is, you know, too, when we look at those social determinants of health, having a job, place to be, connectedness, all of those impacts on our mental health. So the work that you do, even though we're talking about employment, has such a huge impact on mental health, on purpose. I'm a mom. I have 3, I call them quasi-adults. They are in their 20s, but they still live with me, and that's okay. The reason I call them quasi is they still text me and ask me questions on a regular basis, and I'm okay with that too, actually. But one of the things we keep talking about is that sense of purpose. And while, you know, we think, oh, I'd love to have a holiday or I'd love to be away, we know that employment gives us that sense of purpose, sense of belonging, connections to other people. We spend a lot of time with the people we work with. So we know it has a big impact on our mental health. So what's also important though, is that we know that workplaces, and I spend a lot of time in workplaces talking about the importance of mental health, what that looks like, what it should look like in a workplace, and that it's just as important as somebody's physical health. We also know though that stress has an impact. So when these things are not in place for us, how stressful is that? When you're constantly searching for purpose, connectedness, food, money to live, all of those things, right? So stress is the body's reaction to a change, and it requires a physical, mental, or emotional response. And I think that's really interesting because sometimes it requires all of the above. And we hear a lot about stress, right? We hear people who say, I never get stressed out. That doesn't mean they don't experience it. It means that for them, they've learned how to manage the stress that has been thrown at them. However, during this pandemic, even those people who I know who say, I never get stressed out, we're like, okay, I know what this feels like. Oh, this is awful, right? So stress has an impact. What's really interesting though, when we talk about stress, is we often say, oh, if you're strong, you can get through this. Stress has nothing to do with strength. It has, what it does is it can have such an impact on us. It's also not a competition. It really isn't. but we hear about this, right? Oh, my day was way more stressful than yours, right? We almost try and see who has the most stress in their life. It's not a competition. Stress can come from anything that makes you feel frustrated, angry, scared, nervous, even excited, okay? So when we're talking about stress, what makes one person really excited might make one person really stressed out. Give you a perfect example. 5 people in my house. 4 of them like roller coasters. 1 does not. That would be me, okay? So if we're going to like Canada's Wonderland as a family or whatever, 4 of them are like super excited. I'm like, I'll hold your bags, keep me as far away as possible. So it's okay though, we understand that. But when stressors are coming into our lives, sometimes we're like, well, why would that stress you out? You've got this, you've got that. Stress is different for everybody, and we need to acknowledge that. And we need to acknowledge that just because somebody finds one situation stressful and you might not, it doesn't mean that we can't help them. It doesn't mean we can't support people. It doesn't mean we can't have a conversation about what that looks like for the person and have some empathy around that. One of the things, though, that has happened during this pandemic is we've seen a lot of grief. Now, grief, we often think is about a loss of a person, and absolutely it can be. But there's a lot of different types of grief, and there's been a lot of grief surrounding the pandemic and youth, okay? Those milestones that for some youth were lost, those experiences that they thought were going to be such a fundamental part of growing up didn't exist. Even social interaction, even having a good day. So when we were during this pandemic, did you ever talk to somebody and they were like really afraid to tell you they had a good day? Like if you talk to somebody, you're like, how was your weekend? And they were like, it was good. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, it was good. I'm like, oh my God, you had a good weekend? That's amazing. But because we were in a pandemic, we shamed people when they were doing well. We thought everybody's supposed to be in a negative place. And sometimes people were doing well or did something that made them feel well. And we needed to celebrate that. And we still do. But we also need to know that what youth have gone through is unlike anything else, unlike anything we as adults have experienced. And we really need to support that. We really need to recognize that their loss during this pandemic has been monumental. It's been huge. And sometimes as adults, I think we brush that aside. Oh, it's nothing like, what I went through, or, somebody who couldn't see their family, or A, B, and C. The experiences that people had during this pandemic were so unique. I got so tired of hearing that saying, we're all in the same boat. No, we're not. We are not in the same boat, not even remotely. We are all in this pandemic ocean together, but our boats are definitely different sizes, definitely different capabilities. And sometimes it varies from day to day. Sometimes somebody's just hanging onto a pool floating and that's all they got, right? Sometimes somebody else might be, navigating it pretty well, but then those waves come. So we have to look at people as individuals, not as this massive group, because each experience is so unique. But we need to look at what stress overload looks like. Now, when I show you these slides, I don't want you to go, uh-oh, I have all of them. I'm really overloaded. What I want you to focus on, and when I go into schools and we talk about stress overload, I want you to start to pay attention on what is your kind of sign that things are becoming a little bit too much for me. Are you in the cognitive section? Are you in the emotional? Or are you in the physical and the behavioral? For me, I'm in the cognitive. As soon as things become a little bit too much for me, I feel overwhelmed. I feel like my to-do list looks like this monumental thing that I'm never going to get through. I don't feel like I can concentrate. And then the other pieces kind of come in. For some people, it might start with a headache. They're like, man, I've had a headache for days, right? But they're not linking it to the fact of what is going on in their life. For others, it might be lack of sleep, right? Not sleeping well. So look for the things that are kind of your sign. What shows you that you're like maybe on the spiral into stress overload? And what can you do about it? We're not just going to talk about what's wrong. We're going to talk about some of those things we can do. Okay. And one of those is start where you are. Use what you have and do what you can. As human beings, we have this ability to create really massive expectations for ourselves and for other people. And sometimes those expectations aren't achievable in any realm. And so it's about creating those pathways that are going to work for you and looking at those things that you can do today. And sometimes I have to do that. I have to look at my list and go, oh, that is so not happening today. But what can I do today? Can I do at least a couple of these things? What does it look like? And know that this is going to be different from day to day. So what are some coping tools? So one, we have to acknowledge our feelings. And we kind of were brought up in an age where we were either happy or we were sad. We were either angry or we weren't. And we've forgotten that we can actually be more than one thing at a time. We can be really excited about something, about a new job, about an opportunity, but absolutely terrified because this is not something you've ever done before. And like when you tell somebody that, they're like, but you should be excited, you have a job. But somebody's like, yeah, but I'm walking into a place I've never been before. I'm dressing in a way I've never done before. I'm doing things that I've never experienced before. That's scary. That can provoke anxiety. We need to acknowledge those things, that something can be exciting and terrifying at the same time. We need to find people who we can talk to. Now, often when we hear people talk about their mental health, we talk about psychologists and psychiatrists and counselors, and that's absolutely wonderful. But sometimes it's just, who do we connect with on any given day? Maybe it's somebody at the Rock. Maybe it's somebody at Hammond. Maybe it's Fazil. Maybe it's Lincoln. Maybe it's just whoever we feel like we connect with and we can just have a conversation with. And we get often stuck in this rut of just talking about what's wrong. And when we do that, we stop realizing that there might be something positive in our lives too. One of the things we've done with youth is what we call a brag and drag. We look at those things that were a drag today, but what are those things that we can brag about too? And finding that balance. The other thing that we can do is really help others. And I know that sounds really weird. How can I help somebody else when I'm exhausted? But sometimes when we reach out and give a hand to somebody else, it gives us that purpose, that sense of, wow, thank you, that gratitude. And it doesn't have to be anything that costs money or is monumental. It could be literally helping somebody across the street, holding the door for somebody, carrying somebody's bags to their car, even in your own house. I call it kind of going on a politeness binge, bringing in the garbage when it's not your turn or something like that. It can be really, really simple. But when somebody's having a bad day and they were thinking about, oh, I got to, transfer my laundry, I got to do this, I got to do that. And you walk in somewhere and somebody's done that for you. Think of what that makes that person feel like, right? It's also about finding those places where you find joy. And when we talk about recharging yourself, what does that look like? It's hard when you're struggling. It's hard to think about, how do I recharge when I have nothing in my battery at all to charge, right? What does bring you joy? Is it just being out in nature? Is it being outside? Is it creating? Is it connecting? And do more of that. But what we do is we often focus on all those things that we have to do. And those things have a place in our life, but we also forget about those things that might provide us some joy and help to fill up that battery a little bit. I spend a lot of time on social media. It's a piece of the work that I do. I also have 3 kids, so I've tried to stay on top of it as much as I can. Man, it's fast moving. We've got, everything from Insta to Facebook to Twitter to Snapchat to TikTok to all of these things. One of the things that has always I've tried to really talk about with the kids is that picture of that apple. Is that when people present something on social media, they're presenting their highlight reel. They're presenting a trailer of their life. They're not showing you necessarily all the bad things or all the things that they may be having challenges with. There is a great person on Twitter a couple of years ago, and what she did was she took every picture that she had posted over the last year and then gave the actual story behind the picture about what happened right before that picture was taken. The fact that she had a boyfriend, she drove 8 hours to see this, they got in a huge fight, she took this picture, that's what she posted on Instagram, and an hour later they were broken up. But that we don't see those things. And I get really tired when I hear a little bit of adults say, oh, they've got to get off their phones, they got to do this. The phone and social media is part of who they are. It's what they're growing up with. It is not the world I grew up in. It's different, and we have to recognize that. This is an important piece of who they are, and it kept them connected during a pandemic when nothing else did. It was a survival tool. But we have to be okay with them finding information on there, and they find it, and they find it fast. But it's also about having a conversation about what's real and what's not. I was in a classroom yesterday, and we talked about that lovely blue check mark that says you're verified on social media. And I asked them, I said, what does it mean? And they all said, it means you're popular. I said, exactly. Verification doesn't mean that you know that you should be talking about this subject. So it's about kind of sorting out fact from fiction. And if you find something on social media, asking somebody about it. So is this really real? The ones I struggle with are the ones that say, these 5 things show that you have ADHD. Well, not necessarily. Or these 5 things prove that you have social anxiety. Well, no. But they can give us insight into things. They can make us feel connected. And that's the real reason social media exists. It's that social connection. But we also need to know that physical piece of connection and how important that is, and encourage that as well. We need to normalize these conversations. We need to normalize them in our workplaces. We need to normalize them in our homes, in our community. I've been doing this for a long time. My kids know I talk about it. Sometimes they're a little bit, okay, that's enough, Mom. But they also know it's a safe space, and they know that it's okay to talk about these things. It's about okay to have these conversations. And that's what normalizing, talking about mental health, talking about suicidal ideation, talking about these things that are very difficult conversations, but letting people know that they can talk about them. And when we ask how somebody is, we actually listen to the answer. How many times a day do we do that? Hey, how are you? Or what's up? But we don't actually listen to what's going on. And we need to do that. We need to acknowledge that. So, what are some realistic goals we can do for ourselves and for people we're helping? If you are helping somebody else, set realistic goals for what is your role? What are you doing to help this person? How many of us here today have said when we're helping somebody, call me anytime, or I'm always here for you? No, you're not. You can't be. We're human beings. We have so many different things clawing at our time. It's important that we acknowledge what we can do for somebody and what we can't. I support people on a regular basis in my personal life and work, all different avenues. And one thing I try and do is let them know, hey, I'm going to be unavailable from this time to this time. Doesn't mean I won't see your text, but if I don't answer, that's why. Right? Letting people know what you can and can't do. Making a list of tasks that are accomplishable. That's super important. This is our lovely little happiness toolkit. I like this because these are the chemicals that are in our brain. And these are the chemicals that help us do things for us. So dopamine, it's a reward chemical. So dopamine kind of comes from anything that we do well, or we've completed a task, or we celebrate something. But we always think we have to celebrate something major. What if we just celebrated we got through today, or you got through today without a headache, or you got through that job interview? All of those things. Anything that you can do that kind of boosts that reward feeling, do it. Oxytocin, that's our love hormone. Love is a great thing, right? We all need it. but it doesn't have to come necessarily from, you know, that concept of being in love with somebody. The love hormone can come with playing with our pets. I have a 90-pound lap dog sitting at my feet right now. Makes my day all the time. For some, it's listening to music. For some, it's doing that thing for somebody. So, you know, you hear about love languages. For a lot of people, it's acts of service or giving a compliment. But we got to practice giving a compliment that doesn't actually necessarily focus on somebody's looks. You guys were given some great ones today about somebody being fabulous or wonderful and all the wonderful work that you guys have been doing and celebrating each other. Those are the compliments we need. Or even thanking somebody just for being in your life. Serotonin, that's your mood stabilizer, the thing that helps you sleep, helps you relax. So find those things that you can do that work for you. And when I say sun exposure, I'm not talking about tanning. I'm just being outside, getting that vitamin D, right? Yesterday was an absolutely amazing day for that. But also understanding that just somebody going outside doesn't necessarily mean that's going to change their mood completely. These are just things we can do. Endorphins, these are your painkillers. So look, we have exercising, but we have dark chocolate on there too. So it's about balance, right? In this world, finding the things that make you laugh, right? Not everybody laughs at the same thing. So laughter yoga. I know a fabulous laughter yoga instructor in this city who does some pretty amazing stuff. So finding those things that do that for you. And I like this. For what it's worth, it's never too late to be who you want to be. I hope you have a life you're proud of. And if you find that you're not, I hope you have the strength to start over. We always think that we hit a certain milestone, we can't go back. We can't do things, and that's the other issue with social media is I have this conversation with my kids all the time. My son is 24. I'm supposed to be at this level already. This is your life. It's not anybody else's. There's no timeline for that. So I do want to talk briefly about resilience. Okay, what I want to talk though is what resilience isn't. Okay, I'm going to steal a line from The Princess Bride. I don't think this word means what you think it means. Okay, when we think of resilience, we always think it's something we're born with, or it's you know, I either have it or I don't. Resilience is learned behavior. And the other thing that resilience isn't is it's not sucking up. It's not just pushing through something. It's learning the skills to deal with it. It also doesn't have to be born of tragedy. We can learn things as we go. And the other thing, that I really want people to understand about resilience is it doesn't mean going it alone. Resilience is also asking for help when you need it and saying, hey, I'm struggling with this. I could really use your help right now. Man, that is probably the definition of resilience. When you can recognize that you require something else to get you through this, that's massive. So as we get through things, we learn new skills. Resilience doesn't just end. It's something we're always learning. None of us have been through a pandemic before. We have to learn how to do that. And some of us learned quicker than others. And I know I struggled with things I didn't think I would. And vice versa. There was things that I thought, I can actually do this. So resilience isn't what you think it is. So how do we build it in our lives? These are just some really kind of simple things, but they seem really hard. So avoid seeing crises as unsurmountable problems. This one is so hard. Because when something is going on in our life and it's pulling us down, it's really hard to think that anything positive is ever going to happen. So instead of thinking, I have to think on the positive side of life, because people tell you that all the time, what about looking at what is strong in a situation first, rather than what's wrong? We can always find something that's wrong, but if we look at what's strong, okay, and maybe what's strong is something that's doable. Maybe in another situation, you might think, there is nothing strong in this. There's nothing good in this. There's nothing positive in this. Okay, that's acknowledging something, right? We have to move toward our goals, but we need to set realistic ones, ones we can actually achieve. That's a big thing. Instead of saying, I'm going to lose, 60 pounds in a year, why not say, okay, I'd like to lose 5 to 5 this month, something that's doable, so that when you achieve it, you can set another one. Why set ourselves up to fail? I also want you to try and work on this one, nurturing a positive view of yourself. All right, the next time you're having a conversation with yourself and you're beating yourself up and you're telling yourself what a loser you are and how much you suck and you can't do this, I want you to imagine you're talking to your best friend or somebody you really value. And if they were saying these things to you, would you still be friends with them? Would you say these things to them? We have compassion and empathy for other people, but we don't give ourselves the same grace. And we need to practice that. We need to work on that. And I know it's hard, but when you think of, let's say you want to buy something new and you're excited about it, you've been saving up for it, and it's something really important to you, right? What do you see everywhere you go? It's kind of like the Facebook ads that pop up, like when you think about something, then all of a sudden, boom, it's there. It's the same thing that happens in our brain. So when we always see the negative in something first, we'll always see the negative. It becomes a practice. But when we, are excited about something or looking forward to something, we see it everywhere. We talk about it. It's at the forefront of our heads. So it's about kind of switching that idea around. A couple of takeaway messages that focus on what's strong rather than what's wrong in a situation, in a person, in a project. We can always fix what's wrong. Let's look for what's right first. And, that saying, granting me the serenity to accept the things I can't change and the courage to change the things I can and the wisdom to know the difference. I'm in my 50s. That one's hard. I still struggle with that every single day. Why? Because I'd love to be able to control everything and make things better. And you guys are doing some wonderful things to make that happen, but we also know we can't always change everything. But let's look at the things that we have been able to focus on. And if today, all you did was hold yourself together, I'm proud of you. Sometimes that's all we can do. All we can do is, say, I got through today. It wasn't pretty, but I made it. And that's okay. Resources. There are some great resources in our community that you've heard about today. I want to talk to you about some other ones. Mindyourmind.ca is a resource created by youth for youth. It is fantastic. It's out of London. They have great apps. They have great games. They have great tips, all created by youth for youth. Kids Help Phone. It's a great resource. And I know a lot of teens will go, but yeah, I'm not a youth anymore. That Kids Help Phone actually goes up to age 30. Okay, so that's pretty awesome. Bounce Back. So Bounce Back is a free cognitive behavioral based therapy for anybody over the age of 15. It is done over the phone, so you can self-refer. You don't need a doctor. You don't need a physician. You can actually self-refer. Okay, and Mind Beacon still offers free digital therapy, also cognitive behavioral therapy based, but they do it via email. And then we have in Canada the Talk Suicide Canada's hotline, and it is available 24/7 or from 4 p.m. to midnight every day. You can text, and the number for that is 45645. You guys have a copy of this. Please feel free to share it. Absolutely, you can. I'm going to stop sharing now. And if you guys have any questions of me, first of all, thank you so much for letting us be a part of this roundtable. It means so much to us to be included. And thank you for all the absolutely amazing work that you guys do in our community. We're not doing this alone. We absolutely need to do this together. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jill. I saw it in the comments in itself. Your enthusiasm for mental health resources has just been amazing. And for the second year in a row, just having you be a part of our conversation regarding employment and mental health has just been tremendous. So we really appreciate you joining the conversation and really giving us insight on, all these amazing mental health resources. And just, I think it was Art that put in the chat, the infographics just really put it to the next level. So we truly, truly appreciate all the work that you've been doing and the continuous work that you will be doing in our community. So thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for Jill or any of the other panelists before we wrap up today's session? I actually do have a question for Jill myself. So what is next for the Canadian Mental Health Association? We jumped into, your presentation, but from a youth standpoint, what is currently happening within the Canadian Mental Health?
So thank you for that. So we are trying to expand. We're trying to let more youth know about our services in the community. We support anybody over the age of 16. We do intensive case management, but we also do things like court support. And that's often one that people forget about, is people who've been through the criminal justice system. We do provide support that way. We also spend a lot of time presenting and talking and teaching about mental health. And we want to get that out to the community as well. We try and offer it as affordable as we possibly can. So we offer things like teaching youth about ASSIST, which is applied suicide intervention skills training, or Safe Talk. And our TAMI program, which is talking about mental illness, where we have lived experience. And that, when we go into a school and we are able to share, we go all the way down to grade 4 to share people's life experiences and let people know that they're not alone, and hope really does exist. And I think we heard that with Fazel, is that it's truly amazing. So the more we can do that, the better.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, Jill. And that does end our session today. And once again, keeping in mind that today is World Mental Health Day. So I think this was a really great opportunity for us to just showcase some of the resources that we have provided today. And I just really want to thank our partners once again for joining this conversation. So thank you to McMaster University, City of Hamilton, Hemont Youth, Center 3, Wesley, Hamilton Center for Civic and Inclusion, Path Employment, Living Rock, and of course, Jill from the Canadian Mental Health Association. Just some plug-in moments for us as well within Workforce Planning Hamilton. Feel free to follow us on Workforce Planning Hamilton on all social media platforms, as well as Hamilton Youth Workforce, where we do release these ongoing dialogues with one-on-one interviews about youth and employment in the city. So definitely check that out. And something that is coming up that we would love for you all to participate in, once again, is our local labor market plan. And throughout this plan, we do want to have conversations and consultations with you all to hear about what the current priorities are in our city. So as we talked about youth and employment, what are other priorities that you have within your organization that you would like us to really focus on from a labor market standpoint? So thank you all for joining us today. And before I leave, I just wanted to put in the chat our SurveyMonkey survey, basically, just to really showcase, what you've learned from this conversation, what we can do to improve our presentations for future reference, and overall, just, showcasing, anything that you've pulled up or learned from today's webinar. So thank you again for joining us, and we really appreciate all the support and all the conversations that were had today regarding youth and employment. And we will leave it at that. We've given you 4 minutes of time to kind of transition to whatever else you have for the day, but thank you again for joining.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great day,
Thank
everyone.
you, everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have an amazing day. Bye, Cindy.
Bye.